Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Irene and I'm a registered dietitian, and today we're going to be talking about books. More specifically, we're talking about Colleen Hoover books today. So in the past year, since picking up Colleen Hoover books, I have really gotten into reading and I've become a huge book nerd. So now I have finished reading every single Colleen Hoover book, and I'm here to tell you which ones are the best ones and which ones you can skip. So I know that this video is a little bit out of the ordinary from the content that I usually post, but honestly, since picking up reading again, it's really brought me a lot of joy in a lot of different ways, and I've really bonded over books with a lot of different people. So I thought that it would be fun to share with you guys. I don't have any physical copies of these books just because I prefer to read on my tablet. So I'll just throw up covers on the sides while I'm talking about them. But first and foremost, I want to go over my favorites. So I have picked 5 books in my top 5. They're not ranked in any particular order, but these books are, in my opinion, the best Colleen Hoover books there are. And if I would start somewhere, it would be with one of these 5 books. If there is a book that I did not mention in the top 5 that you really like, that is okay. We can all have different preferences for books that we like to read, and we can all talk about that. Of course, the first book that is in my top 5 list has to be Verity. So this one is definitely a fan favorite, and I don't think that I have met anyone that doesn't like this book. So it's a little bit spooky, and it's definitely got a lot of twists and turns, and it's really in a different style from all of Colleen Hoover's other books. Don't go into reading her other books thinking that they're all gonna be kind of like this. This is kind of one that's set out apart from the other books that she has written. And personally, I feel like it's really cool to see Colleen Hoover write in a lot of different ways, and this book really just blew my mind. I also happened to read it in October, which is the perfect month to read it, of course, and this one really drew me in, and I had no idea where it was going, even up until the end. I swear I could not have predicted it, and I feel like I read a lot of books and also seen a lot of K-dramas, so I feel like by now I can oftentimes predict the ending of a lot of different stories, but this one was, it blew me out of the water. Definitely a really good suspenseful read if you're into that kind of stuff. So the next book that is in my top 5 list is Ugly Love, and this one I feel may be controversial. I don't know. My coworker just really does not like this book because she felt that the relationship was really toxic. I guess I can see that, but I still really enjoyed it. In a way, it was kind of fun to read about it, so I don't know, but I feel that it was a really good book and definitely really drew me in. Was definitely more on the mature side if you're into that. Verity was as well. It's pretty spicy, and this one also I feel had a turn in it as well that I kind of wasn't expecting. I was reading the book and thinking it was just more of a love story type thing, and then all this other stuff came up, and that was kind of a shock to me. So I feel it was a good read, but let me know what you think about this book, if you think it was a really toxic relationship and if you didn't like it for that reason. Okay, so the next book on the top 5 list is November 9. So I feel this one is a really cute book, and it's a really cute love story. There is that kind of aspect of it being a forbidden love sort of thing, that kind of vibe. And I feel I sped read through this one so quickly. I feel I finished it in a day or 2. It was very well paced, so I feel that's what really drew me in, and I really like this one a lot. I don't really want to spoil too much of it, and I feel it's kind of hard to talk about it without actually telling you what happens in the book. But go read it and let me know what you think about it. I feel it's definitely one of my favorites. Moving on to my next favorite, Hopeless. So this one I feel is a bit underrated. I think it was one of the books that she wrote earlier in her career before she got a little bit more famous. So trigger warning for anyone that can't deal with sexual assaults or anything like that, or things happening to children. So one of my other coworkers, I would not recommend this to her because she just can't read anything where bad stuff stuff happens to children. So if you're one of those people, don't read this one, but this one is a really good book. I thought that it wouldn't be as good because the story is about like high schoolers. So like I'm kind of a little bit removed from that like age group now. So I didn't think that I would like it, but there are a lot of twists and turns in this book. I feel like a lot of Colleen Hoover books honestly have a lot of twists and turns, and that's what keeps me like continuing to read them and what makes them really good. But this one, totally unexpected, came out of left field. So this one was really good and definitely a favorite for me, and I feel like this favorite like surprises a lot of people because like not a lot of people have read it and it's definitely underrated. And then moving on to the last of my top 5 favorites, it is Slammed. So I believe this is like one of the first books that Colleen Hoover wrote, and this was also the first Colleen Hoover book that I picked up. Incidentally, I feel like this book like really reeled me in with the writing and the love dilemma that happened. I also experienced so many different emotions in this book. This one is also about like a girl in high school and then a guy in college, but like there's a lot of like other like social things going on. I thought that it was like a really good book, honestly. It was sad at times, it was really happy at times, and so like I feel like it also holds a special place in my heart because it was like the first of her books that I read. So this one is definitely one of my favorites as well. Moving on to the next category, which I would just call these like good reads. So they're good books that I enjoyed, but I wouldn't say are like my favorite. So on this list I have Too Late. So this one I think was like more recently re-released or something like that. I feel like it's like a bigger book. I don't have like the physical copy of it, so I actually don't know how long these books are, but it felt like a long read to me, and it was definitely like very mature. Another trigger warning for like sexual assault things and lots of mature content, lots of like very intense things. This one I feel like is also like kind of in its own genre compared to some of like her other books, which are a little bit more lighthearted, but this one was like, it was a little tough, but it was definitely a good read as well and very suspenseful. So I also enjoyed this one a lot. And another book that I really enjoyed that also falls in this category is Layla. So if you enjoyed reading Verity, you might enjoy this one. It's like more paranormal, but it still has like the same spooky vibes, and it's also a very suspenseful story. So I feel like you might enjoy this one. This one I feel like is kind of like more under the radar. I do feel like I liked Verity more than Layla, but this one was also like a good read as well. And then Finding Cinderella. So this is just like a really cute story. Like it's a shorter book and it's part of the Hopeless series. So I think it's like there's Hopeless and then there's Losing Hope and then it's Finding Cinderella. So Finding Cinderella is like about mostly like another character from that first book. This one I feel like was just a really cute book. I have like nothing bad to say about it. It's a good light read, I feel like. And then the next book in this like Goodreads collection would be Heartbones. So I feel like I liked this one because the main character was really relatable. Like she was kind of lonely and trying to find her place in the world, and of course she falls in love with this guy, and then the love story like takes a turn and blah blah blah. So like this one was really cute, and I just really liked how the main character was like very relatable. I feel like that one was a good read as well. So the last book in kind of this category is Confess, and this one is another forbidden love story. If you can't tell already, I really love forbidden love stories and I fall for them all the time while I'm reading, but it's not in the way that like you think it is. Like the reason for it being forbidden is like totally different than what you would typically expect, I guess. So this one was really good. Also another emotional roller coaster as well, so buckle in and enjoy the ride. I really enjoyed this book. Then moving on to the next category, these are the books that I feel like are a little bit overhyped. So these are books that like people have read and like rated more highly, but I feel like they're not as good, or like they didn't live up to my expectations. And the first two are It Ends With Us and It Starts With Us. Sorry for anyone who loves these books. My coworkers love these books, but I just feel like it didn't really speak to me as much. I guess I don't know if I just like didn't relate to the characters, or I kind of feel like it like wasn't exciting enough for me, because like some of her other books, there's definitely a lot more like twists and turns, but this one kind of felt more predictable. So I feel like I didn't enjoy this one as much. And I feel like these two books are like kind of overhyped. I do want to say that I enjoyed It Starts With Us more than It Ends With Us. I just kind of like a happy ending. So I feel like that's kind of why I like that book more, but It Ends With Us, still a good book, just like didn't really live up to expectations for me. I feel like I really like the thrilling aspects of books, because like my life is pretty boring, so like I need a book to be like really thrilling and like captivating, and I also like don't want to like think too much, so I feel like that's like my thing with books. Another book in this category is Regretting You. This one I just feel like honestly I didn't really resonate with any of the characters. It was like a good read, as a lot of her other books are, but I just feel like parts of it were also predictable, and so I don't feel like I was really drawn to like reading and like finishing the book. I still did, it was still like a decent book, but it just like was not one of my favorites, and not really one that I would recommend to anyone. So read it if you want to, or not, I don't know. Then the next one on this list is Never Never. So this one was like kind of an interesting book and like concept, but it was kind of a little bit difficult to follow and like piece together as I was reading it. Like I said, I don't like having to like think when I'm reading, so I guess like I don't know if I just like don't like mystery-ish type books or what. Like I feel like when I'm reading I just want to relax and like be absorbed in the story, but this one was like something happened to these characters and they're trying to figure out what happened and how to fix it, and so like while I'm reading it I'm also like trying to figure out like what's going on and everything. So in that aspect I didn't enjoy this one as much, but I feel like some people might. If you like more mystery like books, this one might be a good read for you. And then the last book in this category is Reminders of Him. So this is like a really good like redemption story, I guess. The story was very heartwarming in the end, but I feel like it just wasn't really my cup of tea. This book on Goodreads I feel like is like very highly rated. I just feel like it like didn't speak to me and like didn't resonate to me. Maybe because I don't have like children or anything, and this book is about a single mom, I guess, in a way. Those are like the books that I felt like were like good but like overhyped. And then moving on to the last category of books. So I feel like these books are books that you can skip, like read them if you have time and if you want to, but like I honestly feel like if you were to skip these books it wouldn't be a big deal. So on this list are Point of Retreat and This Girl. So these two books are in the same series as Slammed. Why I put them in the skip category is because I feel like Point of Retreat and This Girl, they like do a lot of like flashbacks, I guess, to like the first book. So Point of Retreat is written in the perspective of the guy in the book, whereas Slam was written in the perspective of the girl. So like it kind of goes over the same story, but just in his perspective, which like it was like good, but it's a lot of like the same stuff and content. I feel like for that reason I didn't really like it as much. This Girl was also like kind of the same way. It was from both of their perspectives, I think, or like a little bit of both, but like they're like reminiscing back on like what happened in like those first two books. So these two books I feel like you can skip. Next up are Losing Hope, Finding Perfect, and All Your Perfects. So Losing Hope is the second book in the Hopeless series, and this one again is written in a different perspective. So Hopeless was written in this perspective of the girl, and then Losing Hope was written in the perspective of the guy. Again, a lot of like the same things happening, but just in a different perspective. So I don't feel like you have to read it. Finding Perfect is kind of like the same thing, and it's like also a short story, same as Finding Cinderella. So like I feel like you kind of like optional to read Finding Perfect. And then All Your Perfects is this like story that kind of ties the bow on all of these characters, and so it really ties everything together. It's like really cute and stuff, but like I don't feel like you have to read this one. I feel like a lot of people don't. And then next on this list is Without Merit, and this one I feel like I just really didn't love the story of it. I like didn't resonate with any of the characters at all. I didn't feel like a draw, I guess, to read this book. I feel like it's also not one of like Colleen Hoover's like best best work. I don't think it's rated super high on Goodreads either, so like you could totally skip this book. It'd be fine. I don't feel like I've really heard anyone talk about this book either, so you can definitely skip over this book. And then the last 3 books that are also in this category are Maybe Someday, Maybe Not, and Maybe Now. So these are all in the same series. These books, I guess, were light reads. Nothing like super special about them, I guess. So like I feel like you could read them if you have time, but if you like don't really want to read them, that's fine too. It's about like a couple and they're in college and the guy falls in love with another girl while he's in a relationship. So that's kind of the gist of it. And then I feel like it is like a good, cute read, but like there's really nothing special or like particular about it. So for that reason, I feel like it like falls into the skip category. So those are all of the Colleen Hoover books ranked by my personal preference. If you have other preferences or if you disagree with me, that is okay. But I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to give it a like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.